This is Allison Collier, and I've been reading studies related to factors contributing to non-music professionals continuing ensemble participation after high school. I've been including both adult community ensemble members who do not have a degree and or career in music, as well as college students who are electing to enroll in an ensemble at the School of Music despite not pursuing a degree in music during their time at that university. Some background on my interest in this topic. I have been a member of the Gwinnett Symphony Chorus for 2 years, and in this upcoming season, I will get to be an interim conductor while the director is on sabbatical. And I've noticed, at least in my choir, that we have a mixture of music majors and non-music majors, and we have a mixture of Generation Z, millennials, Generation X, and baby boomers. Yet if you look at just the members who have degrees in music, it is mostly millennials. And if you look at people who do not have a degree in music, it's mostly baby boomers. And to me, this suggests that there could potentially be a decrease in interest in continuing musical participation if you are not pursuing a career in music. And I would really love some more research to be able to encourage students in my classroom to be continuing their musical studies, whether or not they are pursuing a career in music. The three studies that I have read so far are Jones 2018, Jutras 2011, shout out to Dr. Jutras at the School of Music at UGA, and Manti 2012. And so to break down the population participants and type of research for these three studies, my first article, Jones 2018, the population was singers not studying music at a specific university, singers being defined as someone who is actively singing in some type of ensemble related to the university. There were 6 participants, 3 from each type of ensemble. So one of the ensembles studied was a traditional mixed chorus through the School of Music that performed traditional choral repertoire, and the other ensemble being a student-led a cappella group, and that was a qualitative study. This Article 2, Jutras 2011, the population was members of New Horizon Bands, which is a 50 plus band organization, so specifically for senior citizens, or slightly almost senior citizens from that 50 to 65 range. There were 1,823 responses collected, and it was a quantitative study. And the third article, Manti 2012, the population was members of Ontario community bands, so it did potentially include people who are a member of a community band and were professional musicians. There were 275 individual responses, and it was a quantitative study. Some important distinctions in the setup of each study. The ensemble category featured did vary. So that first article, Jones 2018, specifically dealt with choir. Jutras 2011 and Manti 2012 dealt specifically with band, and none of them featured a strings ensemble. The generations featured varied, so that Jones 2018 dealt with college students, sort of undergrads and young graduate students. So you can interpret that as millennials or maybe the oldest Generation Z. The Jutras 2011 study dealt with 50 plus aged members in 2011. So that would be baby boomers, possibly the generation before that. And the third study, Manti 2012, dealt with a mixture of generations. So none of the studies, while one of the studies focused on millennials, one of the studies focused on baby boomers, none of the studies focused on Generation X. The musical background of participants did vary. So like I said, Manti 2012 did include people who had degrees in music, while Jones 2018 specifically didn't. And in Jones 2018, all 6 participants had a significant middle school and high school experience in some type of ensemble, whereas that was not necessarily the case for the other 2 studies. And the primary purposes also did vary. So the The Jones 2018 article was specifically aiming towards how are the experiences different for members of a classical choir versus members of a non-classical choir, like an a cappella group. The Jutris 2011 article was specifically dealing with the benefits of being a senior citizen, electing to be a part of a community band, and the Manti 2012 article was specifically talking what gave sort of just general perceptions of members of community bands, but then also had a spin on the implications of music education. Some common findings is that the development of music and non-music skills were key components in all of the studies. So music skills being the further development or the further development of note reading and sight reading and oral skills and things like that, or in some cases those adults start beginning those skills at a beginner level. Non-music skills being being responsible, developing some responsibility and ownership and organization and other sort of common non-music skills related to being a part of an ensemble. All three studies featured a significant number of participants who said that they joined or wanted to continue in a community ensemble due to the social outlet of being in a musical ensemble. And in all three studies, the participants self-reported health benefits, things like a lower amount of stress, being active and out of the house, and so on and so forth. So some diagrams that sort of show that. This is from Jutris 2011. So in the Jutris 2011 study, participants were asked about a certain benefit and asked how much it applies to them on a scale of 1 to 10, and then also how much that aspect determines whether or not they're in a band and then a community band. So in all the items that were related to health benefits, we can see that the alpha coefficient is 0.759 for yes, whether or not that benefit exists, with an alpha coefficient of 0.856 for how important they see that benefit. And you can see that in all of these categories, it is above that zero point 0.7 minimum. You can see for personal benefits, things like interaction, social, things like that. Developing new skills. Sorry, I shouldn't have said the word social earlier. Social and cultural being the last category. This is a chart from the Manti 2012 article. Participants had a question where they were supposed to rank by importance, but rank their reason for participating in a community ensemble, and then within the reasons that they were in it to sort of rank them one of most importance, meaning that that in 58 responses, people said that just the music itself was their top reason for being in the ensemble. And in 43 responses, convenience, meaning how close it is to your house, was the least important reason for joining the ensemble. And in this study specifically, it noted that many of the members lived closer to a different ensemble than a different ensemble featured in the study than the one that they participated in, meaning they are commuting further to be a part of the specific ensemble they wanted to be a part of. So some unique findings in the Jones article was this was the only article to compare perceptions of classical and non-classical ensembles. And it actually found that the members of the classical choir within the School of Music, that those students just wanted to more develop their musical skills and they were less interested in the social benefits, whereas the pop a cappella members did care more about the social benefits of being in a choir. As I said, the non-musical benefits skewed towards the non-classical performers and vice versa. Unique findings in the Jutris 2011 article. This was the only article to acknowledge a potential difference between common perceptions of different ensemble types, meaning that in the previous studies cited at the beginning of the Jutris article, there was a study that cited that it could be that members of community choir have different reasonings behind being in a community choir than members of a community band or a community orchestra, which connects to the Jones 2018 article where the non-music majors who elected to enroll in the sort of traditional mixed choir within the School of Music, they weren't necessarily interested in the social benefits of it. They kind of already had their own friend group, but they just wanted to continue to develop those musical skills. Whereas the situation, the sort of perceptions and the reasonings for the members of the a cappella group sort of tended to more align with the reasonings behind the members of the community bands in the Jutris as well as the article. And Jutris 2011 was the only article to compare the perceptions of ensemble members to adult private lesson students. Dr. Jutris had a previous study where he studied adults who decide to take piano lessons for the first time as adults and their perceptions. And he was the only one to compare the two in his article. Unique findings in the Manti 2012 article. This was the only article to break down the responses by gender, and the findings in the Manti article did suggest that the community band members in Ontario, that among that population, women cared more about the social benefits of being in a community band than male members. And this was the only article to make implications about school music, aka music education. In this article, when they used the word school music, they specifically meant 6th through 12th grade ensemble-based classes. And the implications that they were making was that there needs to be more of a connection. Music teachers need to be making more of a connection for their students about continuing into community ensembles and need to be doing more to connect to the community ensembles so that their students are going to continue on after high school, and that they aren't just doing the concerts because it's the class that they elected to enroll in and they want good grades, but that they're learning how to be in an ensemble so that they can continue to be in an ensemble. Here are the full bibliography for the 3 articles.